Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Rowe, and today I'll be presenting to you an in-progress research project entitled Museums as Mirrors, a study of Black cultural identity in Jamaica and the United States. Museums as Mirrors is a study of Black cultural identity in Kingston, Jamaica, and the southern United States. My objective is to explore the differing ways in which Black Jamaicans and Black Americans create and interact with physical representations of their past by conducting ethnographic fieldwork and archival research. Colonialism and the slave trade has created a diaspora, with some descendants of African slaves residing in a majority Black polity and others in a minority Black polity. My research project seeks to explore the similarities and differences between the two and bring light to a historical silence. There's a significant gap in the historiography with the lack of research on how descendants of African slaves view themselves. I have chosen to examine Jamaica and the U.S. because both countries have a mainstream Black culture and another group of Blacks that maintain more traditional roots and are significantly smaller in number. Jamaica has Maroon communities, and the United States has Gullah Geechee community. I would like to examine and discover the similarities and differences in the perceived Black cultural identities of individuals in each of these cultures. And from storefront to monument, tracing the public history of the Black Museum movement, historian Andrea Burns argues that Black storefront museums created a rich and distinct Black American public history and identity. This, in turn, advanced Black American history and activism, leading to the creation of broader initiatives such as the National African American History Museum. My research goes beyond Burns's work by highlighting the fact that Black museums have shaped Black identity and spurred both political and cultural movements in other communities across the diaspora, not just in the United States. My research in Jamaica will strengthen my research in the U.S. by broadening the scope of study to explore the similarities and differences of how Blacks across the diaspora create and interact with physical representations of their past. Jamaica has a large and highly regarded Black cultural identity. It is important to examine this to explore how that has been achieved and to provide an often overlooked perspective, how Blacks view themselves in relation to physical representations of their past. How this community managed to create a thriving and positively viewed Black cultural identity despite the long-lasting effects of colonialism and the slave trade must be investigated. My project will expand my U.S. dissertation work on Black cultural identity by allowing me to comparatively study Black communities, both mainstream and isolated, in Jamaica and the U.S. I plan to conduct oral interviews of Blacks in both Jamaica and the U.S. to examine how they perceive Black identity, learn about their cultural practices and beliefs, and ways in which they create and interact with these physical representations of their past. Archival research will provide context and assist me with understanding the history as well as the cultural practices and values of the individuals I plan to interview. To paint a full picture of how colonialism and the slave trade has affected the identity of Blacks in both Jamaica and the U.S., I have chosen museums that focus on the following three areas: the experience of slavery, emancipation, and music. There's an expansive amount of research focused solely on slavery and emancipation. I would like to add a piece of Black heritage that transcends the Black community and reaches larger society. Musicians across all genres and cultures have been influenced and inspired by Black musicianship. I've broken down the research project into 5 phases. Phase 1. I will connect with the Department of History and Archaeology at the University of the West Indies, Mona, as well as the Department of Cultural Studies, explore community to develop ideas for community development project, locate community groups that can assist with the project in research, complete archival research, and complete IRB training. This is the phase that the research project is currently in. I'm in phase 1. Phase 2, research music museums and archives, develop a list of potential interviewees. Interview preparation, come up with release forms, question development, and acquire all necessary equipment. Phase 3, conduct interviews. Phase 4, write paper on research results, create video visual to accompany it. And then the final phase is to create a digital publication. I will produce over the course of my research bi-weekly blog posts of the research I have completed. These posts will be a mixture of me presenting music and artwork inspired by my research and reflecting on my research methods. My blog posts will engage others, seeking input and suggestions from other scholars as well as community members. I believe that my research findings will illustrate the differences of the Black cultural experience in the U.S. and Jamaica. My research will expose the legacy of inequality in the lives of Blacks in both countries and show how Black cultural identity has changed over time. My research project extends my personal goal of promoting education, advocacy, and service by exposing and closely examining some of the historical silences that have influenced Black culture and identity across the diaspora. My project will serve as a catalyst for a peaceful and interconnected world inspired by international educational exchange. The dissemination of my research findings in both scholarly journals and widely accessible and culturally popular websites such as YouTube will allow my work to reach a portion of society that historical academic studies rarely reach. My project values diversity, respects all peoples and cultures, and is committed to promoting international education as well as mutual understanding. Thank you so much for listening and your time today. I am open and accepting all help or any type of advice or suggestions you have in relation to this research project. Thank you.